Good afternoon on this Wednesday. Devin Albertson here for the football show that I do every Wednesday afternoon or morning, kind of depends on what I have to schedule for the day. But it's time for D2 football talk. And this is a big weekend, week 11 right now. It's week before the playoffs. So, as most of you know who follow D2 football, it means a lot of playoff implications in this week's show. Hope everybody's enjoying their week right now. As you can see, I'm Devin Albertson on Twitter. Make sure you follow me here. Make sure you also follow at X106_sports. They'll be tweeting out everything for Bearcat Athletics, including the game on Saturday, which we will be broadcasting. Myself on the play-by-play, along with Trevor Mater on the color, and Sean Eno, he'll be running the Twitter account during the game. So we'll be broadcasting live from St. Joe for that game. We'll get to that game here in a minute, though. We're going to start out with not that poll. We're going to start out with the coaches poll. Have Minnesota State, Mankato at number 1 in their rankings, followed by Shepherd, Indiana, PA, Midwestern State, and then Fort Hays jumps to 5. Fort Hays actually got more first-place votes than the two guys in front of them, but they fall in at 5 to beat Northwest last week up in Maryville. This is a really wide-open year this year in D2 football to see who's going to win the title. Last couple of years, been Northwest, been the heavy favorite going into the playoffs, and they were able to take care of business. This year, there's a lot of contenders and a lot of different teams who could win it. So we'll see kind of what happens here going forward, who's going to get what playoff seed going into the playoffs. So there's the coaches poll. I'm not going to go a whole lot into these polls just because they really don't matter at this point. But here's the D2football.com poll, which I'll be using when I do my games later. These are the rankings I'll be using. IUP at 1, Minnesota State, Ashland right there at 3, Shepherd, Midwestern, Ferris, Fort Hays, Commerce, UND, Central Washington in the top 10. So a lot of good teams there. In the top 10, they actually still have Grand Valley ranked at 25. They're the only 3-loss team to be ranked in the nation. Is Grand Valley State. The highest 2-loss team is Northwest. Highest 1-loss team is Ashland. So they're really high on Super Region number 3 in the GLIAC and the MIAA, with those 3 teams right there being the highest ranked with that amount of losses. Sorry, I'm trying to get this up so I can see if you guys have any questions for me. Now we're just going to go straight to what really matters right now. Is definitely the D2 regional rankings. So there's all 4 regions, but I'm going to go and make sure we zoom this in. That way we have the better view of what happens in each region and kind of go region by region to kind of see what the playoffs are going to be looking at here. So I'll take my face off here real quick. And now we have this is Super Region number 1. You have Indiana, Pennsylvania number 1, IUP 10-0 in the year. No big surprise there. They ranked them number 1. Followed by Assumption and Shepherd, both have 9 wins this year, no losses. I actually think Shepherd's a little better than Assumption. I'm guessing Assumption's resume is a little more impressive thus far, so whether at number 2. Findlay, they've been very impressive this year. They have a big game this week versus Ohio Dominican. I'll get to in a little bit for the Great Midwest Athletic Conference, the GMAC, the new conference in D2. Slippery Rock there at 5, the highest 2-loss team in the region, followed by Westchester. Shippensburg, so the PSAC, the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference, has 4 teams in the playoffs right now, followed by Notre Dame of Ohio from the MEC, California PA, another PSAC school, and LIU Post from the Northeastern 10. So that's what this region looks like right now. Unless Slippery Rock loses this week, I don't see a whole lot of changes here. I guess if Notre Dame wins against number 2 seed from Super Region 3, UND, that gets throw a wrench in this region. But right now, this region, if you're in the top 7, you win. Most likely, you're going to stay in the rankings. So shouldn't be too much to worry about there. You win, you're in. If you lose, you could fall all the way out. Like I'm saying, if Findlay loses to Ohio Dominican and Notre Dame beats UND, I can see those 2 teams flipping and Notre Dame getting in at 7, Findlay dropping to 8. And there's no earned access this year for the GMAC because it's the first year of their conference. They don't get automatic earned access. So Findlay needs to stay in the top 7 to make the playoffs. So we'll see what the region does that. If Findlay loses and Notre Dame wins, how they'll sort through all that mess. And if Slippery Rock loses as well, that'll probably help Findlay out. So we'll see how it goes on in this region. Super Region number 2, you got Wingate there at number 1, undefeated. While West Alabama, the 1-loss team from the Gulf South. Wingate from the SAC. Virginia State from the CIAA, they got a big game this week for their conference championship. West Georgia right there at 2 losses above the 1-loss Bowie State. Catawba at number 6, Delta State number 7. The big thing to look for in this region is, does Tuskegee jump over Carson Newman this next week? If that happens, Tuskegee will make the playoffs just because if they get to that 8 spot, earn access will put them in to the playoffs from the SIAC. So that's one thing to look at in this region right now. Will Delta State be able to keep that 7th spot and Carson at 8, or does Tuskegee get to that 8th spot and just leapfrog into the playoffs at number 7? So we'll see what happens there. There's one big game this week. West Georgia plays West Florida for the only ranked matchup in this region. Kind of a slow region this week for the first couple of regions, but we'll kind of see what goes on from there. Followed by that, we'll go to Super Region number 3. This, of course, is the region that I'm closest to, being a Northwest Missouri State student. Fort Hays got a huge win last week up in Maryville, so congratulations to them securing the MIAA title. Congratulations to Fort Hays State. They've been really impressive this year. Offense, defense, the most solid, most all-around team in the MIAA this year. Edging out Northwest up in Maryville 13-12 last week. They'll have the 1 seed. They beat Kearney this week. They'll keep that 1 seed. UIndy, they got a tough matchup, as I said earlier, versus the 8 seed Notre Dame from Super Region number 1. So right now, UIndy, they're kind of in a, if you win, you get a home playoff game for 2 straight rounds. If you lose, you drop to 4, and that would not be a good thing for them because you drop to 4. A lot of different things can happen going forward there. So we'll see what happens with UIndy on that area. I'll get to that game here in a little bit. Ashland, they have a winnable game this week, so does Ferris State. Those 2 teams should stay 3-4 unless UIndy or Fort Hays fall. Then you can see one of them. Generally, if they both fall, Ashland will get the bye in the playoffs because they beat Ferris State head-to-head. So a lot of things to look at in Super Region number 3, the top 4 teams. But right now, those 4 teams are pretty much locked to make the playoffs. Now, at 5, 6, 7, you have 2 GAC schools in the Northwest for the MIAA. Ouachita Baptist right there at 8-2. They got a tough matchup with Henderson State this week. Big rivalry matchup, Battle of Ravine. I'll get to that in a little bit. That should be interesting to see how they do. If they win, they're in. If they lose, they are on the serious bubble. Northwest, they play at Missouri Western, a 4-6 team. They should. I'll get that one in a minute as well. Arkansas Tech at number 7. They play Harding, who's number 8. That's a play-in game right there. Winner of that game in. Loser of that game is most likely out. So I'll get to that game as well. That's going to be one of the biggest games in the nation because you want to see if Harding can continue on their 7-game winning streak right now. We'll get to that here in a little bit. Grand Valley, they have Tiffin this week. I expect Grand Valley to win that game and to make a push for that final playoff spot. What they would need to get in the playoffs, in my opinion, is there's a chaos ahead of them. Baptist probably have to lose. Northwest might have to lose for that to happen. But I think if Baptist loses and Harding beats Tech, I think Grand Valley could jump up to that 7th spot and make the playoffs and get a rematch with UIndy. So we'll kind of see what happens there. But I think Grand Valley is in a good – they're actually in better shape than people think right now. I know they're a 9 seed in the region, but I think they're going to stay in front of Central Missouri. And I think they're going to be able to sneak in to the playoffs if one of the GAC schools loses or both of them lose. That's probably the best-case scenario because if they both lose, then – actually, the Tech and Harding game really didn't matter for Grand Valley because right now the loser of that game will drop below Grand Valley in my opinion. So they're just trying to get either Baptist or Northwest to lose this week, and they win, and they'll most likely, I think, be in the playoffs at 8-3. Their 3 losses this year by combining 8 points to UIndy, Ashland, and Ferris, who have a combined 2 losses. Ashland's 1 loss to IUP, who's number 1 in Super Region 1, and Ferris is 1 loss to Ashland. So they've lost to 3 really good teams. You need to win probably one of those games so they would have been solidified in the playoffs, but right now they're on the bubble. And I think if they win with a Baptist or Northwest lost, they will be in the playoffs, in my opinion. So that's kind of what I see right there with Grand Valley from them. Central Missouri, for them to get in, they would need to win and then probably Baptist to lose. If Northwest loses, Northwest still getting in over Central, in my opinion. So they would need Baptist to lose, and I'm guessing Tech to win. I would guess. I don't know. And Grand Valley to lose. Central needs a lot of help to get in the playoffs right now, so we'll kind of see what goes on with them in Super Region number 3. A lot of stuff happening. A lot more losses in this region, especially in the bottom of the region than I expected coming in. I thought 2 losses would be the bare minimum. It still might be if Tech, Baptist, Northwest all win. 2 losses and you're in the playoffs. 3 losses and you're out. But if Harding wins, it guarantees a 3-loss team is in. So we'll see what happens. I think we're talking about 3 games from this region this week, so a lot of big games from Super Region number 3. And then Super Region number 4 is just jam-packed with teams with less than 2 losses. And you see Duluth there with 2 losses at number 8. We have Eastern New Mexico at 1 loss. Humboldt at 1 loss. They both have games. Eastern New Mexico plays Midwestern, and Humboldt plays Central Washington. There's 3 undefeated teams, a bunch of 1-loss schools here. Sioux Falls, they had to play Minnesota State. Mesa, they had to play Azusa Pacific, who's a solid team from the GNAC. So there are a lot of good games this week. I think Wyandotte is the only one that didn't play anybody in Commerce. The only 2 teams don't play anybody significant in Commerce. They still have Tarleton State down south. So a lot of good games in this region. A lot of stuff to be. I'm not even going to go through the playoff scenario of Super Region number 4 because there's so many different ones. If Eastern New Mexico wins, what happens there? If Humboldt and Eastern New Mexico wins, there's a wrench in everything. So we're going to have to see what happens this region. It's going to play out. It's going to be difficult to predict what's happening in Super Region number 4 if a bunch of chaos happens. If the top seeds all win, it's pretty self-explanatory what's going to happen there. The seeding might change a little bit, but it's hard to tell. So with that being said, we're going to go to our games now, as I'm going to get that off the screen. So we're going to start out with here. We're going to start out here with the first game of the week, and the game that I'll be calling on Saturday. Northwest Missouri State University taking on Missouri Western down in St. Joe. 1 o'clock kickoff, I believe. Northwest 8-2, Missouri Western 4-6, running a 4-game losing streak. Northwest lost 2 in a row. So both these teams on skids right now, but Northwest, as you can kind of see there, the much better defense in this one. They actually get more yards per game and better passing attack this week. Western has a really good rush attack, as you can see, they're 17th in the nation, and they can put some points on the board, 31 points per game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. So does Massey. Massey predicts a 21-6 game for Northwest. I believe Baker will start this week for Northwest. I think he should start. I think he should have been starting a little bit earlier, actually. So if Baker starts there for Northwest, I think they can put up 28 points. I'm going to go 28-3 Northwest. Wins down there in St. Joe. That's my prediction for this game. I'll be on the call with Trevor Mater, 4X106. Make sure you follow us there. So if you're in Maryville, 106.7 FM. If you can't get to a radio or you're outside the Maryville listening area because we're a low-power station, you can get us at KZLXFM.com. Listen live tab. I think it goes through iTunes. And then if you don't want to use that, you want to use your phone, we have an app on there, TuneIn Radio app. Search KZLX. You can also get the live stream on that one, too, to catch our broadcast there from Missouri Western. If you can't make the trip to St. Joe, you want to catch the game, we'll have it for you. So make sure you have that. Also follow us on Twitter, @X106_sports. We'll be tweeting out live updates from there as well. This is a big rivalry matchup. I know sometimes this games you throw the records out because Northwest and Missouri Western, they don't like each other very much. But I think Northwest, their defense is just so good. I don't see Missouri Western be able to put enough points up on the board in this game. And I think with Baker in at quarterback, it can spark the Northwest offense a bit. I think they're going to take control here and get a little bit of mojo going into the playoffs here. I think Northwest rolls in this one 28-3 over Missouri Western. Baker throws a couple touchdowns and a couple rushing touchdowns on the ground. One by Jones, one by Thompson is my prediction there for Northwest. I think they're going to take care of Missouri Western there on the road. But Missouri Western, they're pretty salty on defense. So we'll see kind of what happens there with them. That's game 1. Game 2. We'll stay in Super Region number 3. Harding at Arkansas Tech. Harding right now is the 8th seed in the region. Tech is the 7th seed. This is a play-in, playoff game right here between the Bisons and the Wonder Boys down in the GAC. Both Arkansas schools. Should be a fun game in this one. A lot of points, I believe. Arkansas Tech can put some points up on the board. Their defense is still solid. I think Harding actually has a better defense. They just allow a few more points per game. I think their defense overall is better. And you can see there with their rushing attack. That triple option for Harding is going to control this game. 361 yards on the ground. They have number 1 ranked rushing attack and the last ranked 168th ranked pass attack because they run that triple option. They run it to a T. They're going to try to jam it down your throat. If you don't have a good enough front 8 to stop it, you're going to have a long day here versus Harding. I like Harding in this matchup. They've won 7 straight. They've already beat Ouachita Baptist earlier this year. They're going to beat Tech too. Have a tiebreaker for both of them if Baptist loses our next matchup. I think Harding's going to be one of your tri-champs for the GAC. I think they're going to get into the playoffs. I really like this Harding team. There's certain teams they're not going to match up with in the playoffs. They're going to match up with Northwest. They're going to match up with probably not even a Fort Hays or other schools. But if they get to play UND in the first round, I love that matchup for Harding. They get to play UND in the first round. Ashland, I'm not sure. We'll see kind of how Ashland controls that triple option. I don't think they do very well with Ferris State either. So Harding can be in there. They're going to be a difficult matchup because you'll have 1 week to prepare for a triple option offense. That's always difficult. So we'll see what happens there. Harding, I think they beat the Arkansas Tech in this one. I know Massey has it 30-27. Tech over Harding. I have it 31-24 Harding over Tech. Harding is playing so well on both sides of the ball right now. If they don't lose week 3 to Southern Nazarene right now, they're the favorite to get in the playoffs to the GAC. You can't take that back. They lost a close game there to a team they probably shouldn't have. I think Harding in this one. They're going to win this game and be right back in the playoff mix. And no one saw that happening earlier this season when they started out the year 0-3. Staying in the GAC, Henderson State 5-4 in the year versus Ouachita Baptist. I started having pausing with Wichita, Ouachita. I always got to do it that way. Thank you, Ryan Elliott, for showing me that one. Wichita, Ouachita Baptist. It's just Ouachita Baptist 8-2 right now. They're in the 5 seed in the region. They're playing really well. But this is a Battle of the Ravine game, kind of like Northwest versus Western. You throw the records out for this one. Also, Henderson's won like 30 straight road games. I know this is the shortest road game ever. You go across the highway pretty much down there in Arkadelphia, but down in Arkansas. But this is going to be a fun game. I think Henderson has a better defense. You can kind of see there with the stats. Their defense is superior. The Tigers, they've really struggled with South teams the last few weeks. They've pulled out wins, 45-42, some shootouts. That's going to catch up to you sooner than later. I don't think they're going to make much noise in the playoffs. Right now, they'd be the 5 seed. They go to Ferris State week 1. That's not a good matchup for the Tigers. They would not do well versus the Bulldogs at Ferris State. I think they're going to lose this matchup to Henderson State. I know Massey's at 31-21 for the Tigers. I'm going to take Henderson this one 24-23. It's going to be a fun game. Henderson State at 5-4. Then they're going to get to 6-4 in the year. Have a pretty good year. All things considered, they struggled at home a bit this year. So I don't know if it really counts as a home or away game, but I'm accounting for an away game. I think that's going to that mentality they kind of have right now with the Reddies, and that's going to carry over for them. That passing attack is going to be able to shred up a very suspect Tigers pass defense, 151st in the nation, have 168 teams, not good. I think the Reddies can do enough here and win this game 24-23. I'm taking the Reddies, making mass chaos in the playoffs. So I'm predicting in the playoffs for the Tigers to lose, the Wonder Boys to lose. If we just look at a quick look at Super Region 3 real quick. That means I got Fort Hays at 1. We'll get to the UND game here in a minute, but Ashland and Ferris both winning. I got Baptist losing, I got Northwest winning, I got Tech losing, Harding winning, Grand Valley and Central all winning. So if that happens, I believe Baptist will drop out of the playoffs along with Tech. Harding will jump in, Grand Valley will jump in. I think your playoff ranking, if UND wins, would be Fort Hays, UND, Ashland, Ferris, Northwest, followed by Harding and Grand Valley. So that set up matchups with Grand Valley going to UND, Harding going to Ashland, Northwest going to Ferris. Should be a fun first week of matchups there in Region 3. But we'll kind of see what happens there. And now we have this is a matchup right here that should be interesting to see. Notre Dame College, the 8 seed right now in Super Region number 1 versus the 2 seed Indianapolis, 10-0 on the year in Super Region number 3. As you can see, UND is definitely better in the stats category. I know Notre Dame plays in the MEC, which is not a great conference out there. I know the Shepherds had a lot of success as in the recent years in the playoffs there from that conference. But Notre Dame almost beat Shepherd earlier this year, lost to them by 5 in a shootout. I think 54-49, I believe is the final score of that one. UND, they play in the GLVC. It's not a good conference. It's awful. I know there was a week there, 3 weeks stretch where they outscored people 155-3. They played bad teams. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. William Jewell, not a good team. Quincy, not a good team. I think they played Lincoln that stretch, not a good team. They beat up on bad teams in the GLVC. I know they had the win versus Grand Valley earlier this year. I think they played a game. Grand Valley won by a couple touchdowns. I think Notre Dame pulls off the upset here, actually. I don't think quite a few upsets this week, but I think that's what's going to happen. I think Notre Dame can go into Indianapolis and pull off an upset and just send the chaos into the playoffs. Notre Dame wins. I'm going to go 31-30. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Notre Dame wins last-second field goal, takes the win there at UND. And if that happens, sorry if I'm going through all these hypotheticals right now. That happens, you'd have Fort Hays, I believe Ashland 3, Ferris 4, Fort Hays, Ashland, Ferris, then UND falls to 4, I believe, in this scenario. And if Northwest wins, they get the 5 seed right now. They go to UND, probably the easiest matchup they could have in the first round, followed by Harding and Grand Valley. Harding would then go to Ferris, and not a good matchup for them in that scenario. But then Grand Valley would go to Ashland. So a lot of different scenarios there with that one. Harding to Ferris State. I think it'll be a lot of good games week 1 there. So you kind of see what would happen in that scenario if UND loses. I think it's a real possibility in this week matchup. So that's what we have for that one. Should be a good game, though. I would kind of looked at this one early on the schedule saying, hey, UND versus Notre Dame should be a fun one later in the year. I think Notre Dame has enough offense to stick with them and win this game. And their defense is good enough to hold that Greyhounds offense down a little bit, enough for the win, at least. All right, the next game that we have here on the docket, we're going to stay in Super Region number 1, Findlay and Ohio Dominican. Both these teams from the GMAC, the new conference, they set up out there in the Midwest, up in the Ohio region. Findlay, really good year this year, 9-1, 6-0 in conference play. Ohio Dominican 6-3, but 6-0 in conference play. So both this is for the title for the conference. I think Dominican's too far out right now if you look at Super Region number 1 to make the playoffs with that third loss. They won't make the playoffs, but they can play spoiler. If Findlay loses this game, they could drop from 4 to 8. You drop to 8, you're out of the playoffs, and especially Notre Dame wins. So a lot of things here. Findlay, they're going to need a lot of help if they lose this game. I think they're going to win this game, though. I think they have enough offense. Their offense, number 2 in the nation, is just dynamic. They have a good pass defense, which Dominican, they're saying they do, is throw the ball 344 yards per game. Findlay only allows 155 yards through the air. I think it's going to be enough for Findlay to get the win here. Their defense is just too solid there for Dominican. I think it's going to be a lot of points in this one, though. It says 38-31. I'm going to go 42-34. Findlay in this one on the road. Should be a fun game, though. Findlay playing for their playoff lives. Ohio Dominican playing to play upset. Spoiler, both these teams, former GL, IAC, former GLIAC schools. In this one on the GMAC, I think Findlay wins this one and makes the playoffs there. It's a home playoff game, so it'll be good for them to get a home playoff game. I think they're going to win this one. If they lose, they might be able to sneak in that 7th seed. It'll be close in that region right now with the win-loss situation out there. So the next game, State of Super Region number 1, Slippery Rock at Kutztown. Slippery Rock, they're 8-2 on the year, 5-2 in conference play, 5-2 for Kutztown as well, 7-3 overall. I don't believe Kutztown's ranked. No, they are not. So they're probably out of the playoff picture right now unless a lot of chaos happens in front of them. But Slippery Rock right now, their offense is dynamic. You can see 40 points per game, 12th best in the nation. 14th best in the nation there. But Kutztown, they play real defense, 24th in the nation, only allowed 18 points per game. I think it's going to be enough. Kutztown, they're the favorite according to Massey. I'm going to trust Massey on this one. 35-31 is my prediction for this one. Should be a fun game out in the PSAC. They kind of beat up on each other a little bit. Slippery Rock missed out on the playoffs this season. Good win by Kutztown, I think, in this one. That defense is going to be enough to hold that Slippery Rock offense down. Just enough for that offense for Kutztown to do enough work. But they're still dynamic on offense, 37 points per game. I think Kutztown, they win this one. Should be a good one in the PSAC, though. Home field advantage probably enough to get them the advantage here. And then we'll stay one more game here. Sorry, this is going to be Super Region number 2 now. As you can see here, Virginia State, they're the 3 seed in their region playing Fayetteville State. This is for the CIAA title. It kind of is. The title was actually kind of a couple weeks ago, in my opinion, because Virginia State beat Bowie State. That was really the 2 best teams in that conference. But them being in the same division, they don't get to play for the conference title. As you see here, Virginia State outmanaged them in every category. They're spending 44-27. I'm going to go 45-21. Virginia State, that offense, too explosive defense. He'll hold Fayetteville down a little bit. So Virginia State, they're going to cruise and get a home playoff game in the playoffs. So congratulations there to Virginia State. I think they're going to win this game going away in the CIAA title game. Last game here from Super Region number 2, we have West Georgia at West Florida, 8-2 at 6-3. Both these teams doing well in the Gulf South. West Florida only in their 2nd year as a program, and they're ranked 10th in the region. So impressive there by the Argonauts to get up in there. West Georgia right now, they've had some success in the playoffs the past few years. The Wolves, just a little better of a team right now. It's a 31-14 is the prediction for this one. I'm going to go a little close. I think West Florida can keep it close. Did they beat Delta State? I know they played Delta State earlier this year. They kept it close now, and a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I think they keep this one close as well. I'm going to go 27-21 in this one. West Georgia wins it on the road. Should be a rugged game there with West Florida playing some pretty good football right now in a tough conference. You can see they're 5-2, 4-3. I think West Alabama 6-1. They're going to win that conference, but teams beating up on each other a little bit there. That's why Delta State fell off a little bit. They're beating up on each other. So I think West Georgia wins this one, though, and secures a playoff spot and secures a home playoff game versus Bowie State in the second round, in the first round of the playoffs. So we'll see. Now there, and I like what West Georgia's path is. They would get to play Wingate in the second round. Love that matchup. I think West Georgia, if they keep that 4 seed there, a good chance they can go to the regional final down in Super Region number 2. So their one loss is a 3-point. Their 2 losses. Their one little loss to West Georgia was a 2-point loss, and their other loss was to Delta State, I believe. It was a close game as well. So I like West Georgia a lot down south, and they can do a little bit of damage in the playoffs. Really rough physical team down south. Now we're going to go Super Region number 4 because this region is a mess and there's a lot of good games. Mankato, Minnesota State, Mankato, number 2 in the nation versus number 11, Sioux Falls up in South Dakota. Should be a fun game. 10-0 Minnesota State, 9-1 Sioux Falls. Mankato has better offense, but their defense, I know it's ranked lower in all these categories, but you can kind of see 3 versus 5 in scoring, 2 versus 6 in total, 3 versus 4 in rushing, 26 versus 68. They're all close. It's not like Sioux Falls is a vastly better defense. They might not have better defense. You can't kind of hard tell if they're mixed match schedules here, but Mankato definitely has better offense in this one. I really don't. Is Max Mickey back for? I think I said running back name. Is their running back back? So if he's back, then that could be interesting. Sioux Falls might be able to make a push here. But I think Mankato has enough to win this game. Massey thinks so as well. It says 28-17. I'll go a little bit closer. I think it'll be a little lower scoring. I'll go 20-14. Mankato wins this one. Rough and rugged game up north, but Mankato a little more talented in this one. A little better defense. I think they eliminated Sioux Falls in the playoff picture actually there as a 5 seed right there. They'll get in before Duluth will because they had a head-to-head, I believe. But Sioux Falls right now on the brink of playoff contention right now with a loss, which should be really sad because they're a really good team that would probably make the playoffs in almost every other region but this one right here. So that's kind of what we have there. I like Mankato in this one, 20-14. Then Midwestern State versus Eastern New Mexico. I haven't talked about Eastern New Mexico all year. Kind of the surprise story in Division II, 8-1 in the year, 6-1 in conference play. Their one loss was Texas A&M Commerce, another good school down in the Lone Star. Midwestern State 8-0, 7-0. They beat Commerce earlier this season. But as you can tell, Eastern New Mexico, kind of like Harding, the number 2 rushing attack in the nation and the 3rd worst passing attack because they run the triple option. And you can kind of see with them, they do 2 things in football. That's always a good thing. They control the clock with running the game and stopping your running attack. 343 yards rushing a game, only allow 71, which is the 5th best in Division II. It's a really solid team there with Eastern New Mexico. I know they allow more points per game, but their defense is better than Midwestern State, okay? They're just the yards and everything like that. They're just a better defense. Probably led a couple big plays they probably shouldn't have. But I like Eastern New Mexico. I think they're going to be a solid school. But Midwestern State, they have this experience. They have momentum right now, 8-0 on the year. Eastern New Mexico, they played well ever since they're losing the bowl game last year to Fort Hays, I believe it was. I think they lost that game. But both Eastern New Mexico and Fort Hays played well since that bowl game last year. Only one loss between the 2 of them so far. But I think Midwestern State goes to Eastern New Mexico, gets a win. I think Eastern New Mexico is actually ranked in the coaches poll. They're not ranked in D2football.com, which might be a little bit of a slight there to Eastern New Mexico. But I think Midwestern State gets the win here. It's a little bit too explosive on offense. They're saying 37-31. I think it'll be a little lower scoring because that rushing attack for Eastern New Mexico might get things rolling, eat some clock in this one. I'm going to go 31-28. Midwestern State over Eastern New Mexico. I think Midwestern State can slow down the triple option, but not stop it enough to blow them out, but I think enough to win the game. So 31-28. Midwestern State defeats Eastern New Mexico. And unfortunately, it is the Eastern New Mexico season to make the playoffs. They'll get a bowl game. Nothing against Eastern New Mexico. I think they're a really good team, and they have a really good chance to win this game. I think Midwestern State's good enough this year to get that 9th win, finish regular season undefeated and the best team in the Lone Star, and get to the playoffs. But Eastern New Mexico wins. They're tri-champs in the Lone Star with Midwestern and Commerce, and then it messes everything up in the playoff picture. But I think Midwestern State gets the win here. Should be a fun one down south, down in Eastern New Mexico. Now we're going to go to the GNAC. Central Washington at Humboldt State. Washington right now is a 2 seed, Humboldt the 10. I don't know if Humboldt wins this game if they make the playoffs because they still have to jump over Central Washington. These 2 teams played earlier this year, and as you can tell by the record, Central Washington won that game. They won that game going away. I think it was 55-27. Humboldt only had 2 offensive touchdowns. Central Washington's, their defense is just so good this year. That's the difference between these 2 teams. Both the offenses are scoring over 40 points per game. They're both really explosive on offense. But that being said, the defense for Central Washington is just that much better. The Wildcats right now over the Jags just because of that defense right now. I know they're playing over in Humboldt. It's a tough place to play for Central Washington, but I think Central Washington, they advanced to 11-0 in the year. I think they're just a little better right now. Humboldt's going to fall to 8-2, have this really solid year, 8-2. There's nothing wrong with being an 8-2 team, 6-2 in conference, only 2 losses to the team that went undefeated. I think 35-31 is a good guess. I'm going to go 34-27. 34-24. I think they win by 10 points. That defense for Central Washington can hold down Humboldt State enough and score enough points against that really suspect Humboldt State defense to get the win in this one. I got Central Washington winning and securing a home playoff game. Tough place to play out there in Central Washington. I know back in 2009, Northwest played them in a playoff game. 1-point win for the Bearcats on a blocked extra point in the final minute of the game. So the final in the late moments of that game. So Northwest, they know it's hard to play Central Washington. The other teams do as well. They've been down the last few years. They're back in the up and up. So they're the one school out there that I actually halfway believe in the GNAC is Central Washington. So I think they win this game and advance to the playoffs, and they can make some noise out there. Wrong button. And the last game I'm talking about here, finally the 12th game. A lot of big games this week, as you have Colorado Mesa versus Azusa Pacific out west. Azusa, their 4 losses, 2 to Central Washington and 2 to Humboldt. So their 4 losses are 2 teams right now ranked in the regional rankings. Mesa, their 1 loss to the Colorado State Pueblo. Other than that, they've been rolling teams, 47 points per game on offense. They're a really good rushing attack, 264 yards per game on the ground. They're not a triple option team, but they like to run the ball a lot, as you can tell. I think they have enough. I know Massey has this one as Azusa actually the favorite, 38-31. I know the RMAC is down a little bit this year. I know they've been struggling a bit versus the GNAC schools. A lot of that's the top GNAC schools versus the bottom RMAC schools. But I think Mesa has enough to win this one and secure a playoff seed. Right now, they're the 6th seed. If they lose, it'd be close to say if they stay in the top 8 there and get that earned access. 2 losses. And if Pueblo maybe jumps up and surpasses them there, they're right now probably 11 right in the power rankings, the regional rankings. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I think Mesa wins it, loses all doubt there. I think they win, make the playoffs. I'm going to go 38-34 in this one. 38-34 Mesa. They win it. Should be a fun game out west. So finally, the games I'm going to talk about are over. Sorry about that. The games I'm talking about are over. I'm Devin Albertson. Follow me on Twitter. Also follow us on @x106_sports. Have any questions, anything like that, you can definitely send me messages on there. I'll talk football with you because I love D2 football. I love talking about it with you guys. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully I get to see you guys at a game or so. I'll be down in St. Joe calling the Northwest Missouri State at Missouri Western game. Should be a fun one. 1 o'clock kickoff. We'll start our pregame show around noon. So that should be fun out there. I think we're going to be outside, but we're going to be able to call the game. Should be a fun one. Last regular season game. Northwest trying to secure a spot in the playoffs. Missouri Western trying to win spoilers. So should be fun. If you have any questions, definitely tweet at me. I'll definitely answer them. Comment in the video. I'm going to put this on YouTube. So everybody, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys later. This is the D2 Football Show. I'm Devin Albertson.